The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are on the road for another playoff tilt, this time off to New Orleans to take on the Saints for a third time this season, the Saints having to grind a little last week to get past the Bears.
Looking around, and a little hook pass. He hooked it for the touchdown to Murray.
The Buccaneers also had to put in some work to advance Tom Brady's big game, earning him his first playoff win, wearing a jersey not colored red, white, and blue.
And he'll give to Fournette. He powers it in from the left side and in for the touchdown.
Tampa's performance in their wild card win was not unusual for them, as they have relied on their passing game all year to lead the way for their offense.
Fake to Fournette. Brady steps into it, throws. Evans is he inbounds. Touchdown!
Brady ended his 2020 campaign with 40 TD passes, and if you include last week, is on a 5-game streak where he's posted a passer rating of 100+.
And the catch, there's a flag down as Antonio Brown spins into the end zone for a touchdown.
Tampa sports the deepest receiving core in the game, too. Mike Evans last week putting up a 119-yard game in his playoff debut.
Brady protected and throws complete. It's Mike Evans.
Bucs fans were worried about Evans' knee, which he'd hurt in Week 17, but he quickly put those concerns to rest.
No snap. Brady's got that. Shot downfield for Evans, who brings it in and goes out of bounds.
Antonio Brown found the paint last week, the 4th straight game now he's done that.
On play action, Brady to his second look. It's open. It's Antonio Brown for the touchdown.
Chris Godwin also got in on the action, 5 catches, 79 yards, and a TD.
Deep drop here, Brady down the middle. It's caught for the touchdown, Godwin.
And with defenses having to worry about all those guys, it makes it that much harder to account for guys like Cameron Brate, who all of a sudden shows up in big moments throughout the game like he did last week.
They rush 4, and Brady throws complete. And across, it's Cameron Brate.
And they just have so many weapons, you don't know who to look for on defense.
And then there's still the Gronk man, Rob Gronkowski, not factoring into last week's action at all. He's rarely been Brady's go-to guy this season, too, but over 600 yards and 7 TDs this year proves he can be.
Red zone chance, looking for Gronk, and he's got it for a touchdown.
That group led the Bucs to the 7th most yards per game, 2nd most passing yards per game.
Looking for Gronkowski, he hauled it in, and he's in for the touchdown.
And more importantly for them, it helped them to the 3rd most points per game while being 7th best in the red zone.
Brady, end zone shot again, and it is Antonio Brown for his 2nd Tampa Bay touchdown.
New Orleans, though, is well equipped to deal with all that.
1st and 10. Trubisky's pass broke it up.
The Saints don't get quite enough credit for what they did on the defensive side of the ball this season. 4th lowest passer rating allowed at 83.3.
Going long. Wins this time. Lattimore able to break it apart.
They were one of 2 teams to hold opposing quarterbacks to a completion percentage under 60, and they allowed the 5th fewest passing yards per game.
Here's Trubisky looking for help.
They had little trouble with Mitch Trubisky in their wild card win, holding him under 200 passing yards.
That pass thrown back in his direction.
They're so well prepared for this.
Their pass rush only got to Trubisky once, but for the year they were top 10 in both sacks and QB hits.
Here comes the blitz, 2nd and 7. They got him back at the 40.
And do you know who Trey Hendrickson is? If you don't, you should, because the 4th-year D-end got his first chance to start this year, and all he did was put up 13.5 sacks.
Stafford looking on 1st down, wrapped up. Down he goes. Back at the 39-yard line, Trey Hendrickson.
The Bucs O-line didn't give up a lot of sacks for 2020, 4th fewest.
Again, the pocket is clean. Tom Brady finds Brate.
However, Washington was able to get to TB12 3 times last week.
4 receivers and Gronk and Brady will go down.
And as good as the Saints were against opposing passing attacks, they were even better against opposing run games, holding the Bears to under 2.5 yards per carry.
And Montgomery has had a hard time getting any breathing room.
And one of only 5 that held opposing teams to under 100 rushing yards a game.
Here's Cook. Gets stopped in the backfield. Loss of 3.
Who will they be trying to stop this week? Last week, Leonard Fournette was Tampa's lead back, and he had the type of game that made some think he'd be the lead dog all season.
49, big run here. Fournette into the secondary with a gain of 18.
But it could just as easily be Ronald Jones if he's healthy, being he came close to a 1,000-yard season on over 5 yards a carry.
Ronald Jones will get it. Big hole. Jones gets by. Ronald Jones may go all the way.
Tampa typically doesn't run much, though. Only 3 teams had fewer attempts than they did in 2020.
And he slips through, breaks free, Leonard Fournette. What a gut punch from Tampa Bay!
Tampa's offense wasn't elite inside the 20, but they were respectable, finishing 7th in red zone TD percentage.
Brady has Godwin, who was wide open, and it's a touchdown!
And New Orleans was one of the worst at keeping teams out of football's promised land once teams got inside the 20 against them.
Snap bit to his right. Herbert is being chased, thrown on the run, and it is caught! Touchdown!
When the Saints have the ball, though, they are what you might call artists, as they know their way around the paint. Drew Brees and company, top 5 good in the red zone.
That was Kamara for the touchdown.
The Saints' O was also top 10 when it came to keeping the chains moving the ball in general, and putting points on the board.
Kamara in at tailback. He's got 5 rushing touchdowns. Now 6.
Those numbers are primarily driven by their passing game, Brees putting up a rating over 90 in 10 of his 13 games this season, including last week's playoff game.
Needs 9 for a first. Got more than that, and there he is.
And Michael Thomas seems like he might be healthy again.
3rd and 4 going deep, and he's got Thomas. Oh, that looks like the old days between those two.
For a variety of reasons, injury the most prominent, Thomas wasn't nearly as dominant this season as he was in 2019, so his performance last week against Chicago might signal he's ready to do like Stella and get his groove back.
1st and 10, complete, touchdown, Michael Thomas.
But Brees also connected with Deonte Harris plenty last week, 7 catches, 83 yards.
No one there to make contact after Harris makes the catch. He's able to take off and pick up 24.
Alvin Kamara didn't factor into the passing attack much last week, but he led the team in receptions and receiving yards for the season.
Brees looked deep covered, comes back Kamara, made a man miss. Alvin Kamara across midfield, still on his feet, inside the 50. What a run by Kamara, who's all the way in!
The Bucs have not necessarily been stout against most passing attacks either. 21st in passing yards per game allowed, 18th highest rating allowed, 14th in yards per attempt allowed.
Down the field, who else? Hill at the 10, cut back, touchdown. Touchdown and a leap.
And they gave up over 300 yards passing to Taylor Heineke last week.
Again protected, throwing that corner route. Yes, he did. Touchdown.
But they did hold him to a 78.4 rating, and they picked him off once, which is something they've been good at this year.
Tampa brings pressure, picked up for the moment. Heineke has it deflected, and it looks like it's intercepted.
Tampa was tied for 7th in picks this season, Carlton Davis leading the way with 4.
Bridgewater throws behind his intended target in DJ Moore, and it's picked up by Carlton Davis.
But picking off Brees is a whole nother matter. He had the 2nd highest completion percentage this season, only threw 6 INTs.
Brees to the end zone, and it is caught for the touchdown.
Brees just isn't rushed into making dangerous throws that often. He gets rid of the ball too quickly for most pass rushes to get to him, Brees only being sacked 13 times in his 12 games if you include the playoffs.
Brees, throw, and it is caught for the touchdown by Sanders.
And if you blitz him, he makes you pay. 2nd highest rating when 5+ pass rushers go after him.
Gets it off just in time. Here comes the pressure. Brees throws where the pressure came from. Traquan Smith to the 39-yard line.
Bucs defensive coordinator Todd Bowles loves to send the house after signal callers. They had the 6th highest blitz rate in the NFL.
And down he goes. Aaron Rodgers gets sacked again.
Bring Devin White and Levante David right up the gut.
And that led to a tie for 4th most sacks and a tie for 2nd most QB hits.
Daniel a little surprised by that snap, and he gets ripped down.
As for their rush D, most teams didn't even bother trying to run on them, being they were 1st in both rushing yards per game allowed and rush yards per carry allowed.
Akers won't get there. Stopped for a loss of 1 on the play.
That strength was on full display in their win over Washington, too, holding them to 3.7 a run.
That handoff's not going to go anywhere.
The Saints may not tote the rock all that often, but when they do, it's always nice to have a guy who averaged over 5 a pop and can punch it in on an average once a game, which is what they have in Kamara.
There's Kamara still going. His longest play of the game. It goes for 25.
Now, you can throw all those numbers out the door if you think head-to-head numbers matter most when you have 2 games to go off of. The Saints swept Tampa and dominated Brady in the process.
Here's a pass that is picked. intercepted, and back the other way, Marcus Williams.
Two of Brady's worst games this season came against the Saints. 78 rating with 2 picks in week 1.
On 2nd and 15, this one's picked. Back the other way for the touchdown. It's Janoris Jenkins, a pick 6.
And it was worse in week 9 when he didn't throw any TD passes and threw 3 interceptions.
Brady under pressure again. Throws up a prayer.
Brady was sacked 3 times in each of those losses, too.
It's the first sack of Brady tonight, and now you got the second. And there's Hendrickson again.
Brees, on the other hand, 2 TDs, rating of 96.5 in week 1.
Knocking on the door from the 5. Pass is caught. Sanders for the touchdown.
4 TD passes, rating of 135.2 in week 9.
Brees again, great protection, throws, and that will be caught.
So you can take all those stats and run a computer algorithm to come up with your prediction for this game, or you can do like me and just guess. For the record, when a team sweeps a team in the regular season and faces them again in the playoffs, the team with the broom has completed the sweep 20 times in the 32 instances it's happened. Maybe that's the only stat that matters. Either way, want to see what everyone has to say about it, so put your thoughts into the comments section. We will leave you now with our panel's predictions, which we have 10 of.